Hey guys, I'm Becky. I'm an occupational psychologist, entrepreneur, and chef. On this channel, I talk about a whole bunch of random things that I think make us better and more interesting human beings and make being a human being more palatable. If that's your kind of thing, thanks for joining my channel. Have you ever wondered what personality tests are used for? Chances are high you've come across one online before, or perhaps a recruiter has asked you to complete one before a job interview. These days there seems to be a personality questionnaire for just about everything, from dog personalities to medical specializations. And before you think it, I'm not talking about those 5-minute pop quizzes you find on Google. I'm talking about legitimate dog personality psychometric tests designed by a bunch of occupational psychologists. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my favorite personality questionnaire, how it works, and I'll share my profile with you in order to help you understand how it might benefit you to take one yourself. A little bit about me. I used to work for the global market leader in psychometric testing, and they developed the most well-respected personality questionnaire called the OPQ32. However, today I'll be talking about a personality questionnaire that I've come to like more on a personal level, called the Myers-Briggs Types Indicator, MBTI for short. It is important to remember that different types of personality questionnaires exist in the world, as they are designed with different applications in mind. When I say the MBTI is my favorite, it does not mean that it is better than the OPQ. In fact, from an academic's perspective, the MBTI is looked down upon, but I'll spare you the details in this video. All you really need to know is that the OPQ is used for recruitment. It's the gold standard of psychometric testing, and it is used in the corporate world. On the other hand, the MBTI is used as a point of self-discovery and exploration for everyday folk like you and me. And it's for this reason I call it my favorite, as it's given me way more personal value than the OPQ ever did in the 6 years I spent peddling it. And that's why I'm doing this video, because I thought it might help you too. Okay, so let's get down to it. If you feel like you've heard of the MBTI before, the chances are that you probably have, because it's been around for a very long time and it's also been popularized in mainstream culture. Almost every single well-known person in history has had their 4 MBTI letters assigned to them. You can find countless infographics and memes online comparing the traits of different successful people. It's been so overused in the public domain that I found out the other night that even YouTube influencers are getting profiled these days. A word of caution here. These individuals haven't actually taken the MBTI questionnaire. It is curious people like you and me, because we like to psychoanalyze people for fun and find it interesting. However, I'm pretty sure that debating about why people are the way they are dates back to the earliest civilization. Mathematizing human behavior is really the final frontier of progress in understanding us as human beings. And if I'm honest, I'm bloody terrified of it.
There is a possibility that the American public have been experimented on.
So what are all these 4 letters about? With the MBTI, you are given 4 letters in a sequence. For example, I am an ENFP. For each letter in the sequence, there are 2 options, so the polar opposite of me would be an ISTJ. Basically, there are 8 letters, EINSTFPJ. Okay, so let's move to the fun part and have a look at each pair. Firstly, I have to add in a word of caution and address one of the most common misconceptions about personality questionnaires. The proper way to look at this is that the letter pairings are on a scale and you will fall somewhere on it. So you're never either an E or I. You're both an E and I, but you might choose E more frequently than I. Yet it seems when it comes to personality, people seem to still get caught up in either or debates. Are you an introvert or extrovert? So this brings us to our first pair, E and I. If you lean towards E, you have a preference for being extroverted, and if you lean towards I, you have a preference for being introverted. The EI pair is otherwise referred to as the mind trait, as this determines how we interact with our environment. For example, I lean very strongly to E, which means that I have a preference, generally speaking, for group activities, and I get energized by social interactions. By contrast, introverts tend to find time spent alone more interesting and satisfying. The second pair is N and S. If you lean towards N, you have a preference for being intuitive, and if you lean towards S, you have a preference for being observant. The NS pair is otherwise known as the energy trait. and refers to how we direct our energy. For example, I fall closely in the middle between N and S with a slight preference leaning towards intuitive. Intuitive types tend to prefer imagining the past and future potential of what they see. Those with observant styles tend to focus on observable facts and straightforward outcomes. Finally, the third pair is F and T. If you lean towards F, you have a preference for focusing on feelings, and if you lean towards T, you prefer to prioritize thoughts before feelings. The FT pair is referred to as the nature trait and refers to how we make decisions and cope with emotions. For example, I lean fairly strongly towards F for feeling. The way I like to look at this is through the lens of polar opposites, in that individuals with a preference of feeling couldn't possibly imagine making decisions without considering emotions, whereas it's at the bottom of the priority list for individuals with a preference for thinking. Of course, in reality, nobody makes decisions purely with their head or purely with their heart. There's definitely a balance, but there certainly exists a strong preference in certain individuals. The fourth and final pair is J and P. If you lean towards J, you have a preference for judging things, and if you lean towards P, you have a preference for prospecting. The JP pair is referred to as the tactics trait, as it helps us understand how we approach our work, planning, and decision making. For example, I lean a little bit more strongly towards P for prospecting. The way I look at this letter pairing is that individuals who have a preference for prospecting like activities that take a flexible approach and seize spontaneous opportunities. Those with a preference for judging take a measured approach to life, thus getting the results they planned for by sticking to them. Again, you're unlikely to find someone that isn't both flexible and measured in their approach to life, but it gives a good sense of where our natural preferences and thinking patterns lie. So in summary, I am an ENFP, which in plain English means that I go through life being energized by social interaction. I use a pretty even balance of intuition and observation of the world. More times than not, I believe in using emotional information in my decision-making process. And I'm quite likely to be caught changing plans in the spur of the moment to seize an opportunity if it calls for it. So now we've got the hang of these 4 letters, what next? We combine them. There are 16 different types on the MBTI.
Thanks for watching my first video if you got this far. If you found it interesting, please give this video a like. You can also subscribe to my channel for more content on personality, business, food and drink. If you want to learn more about personality tests and have a look at me interpreting my profile in further detail, do let me know in the comments, and I'd love to make more content like this. Over and out.